Shall I sit? Good morning, everybody. How many people? Did you have your espresso? Ready to go for the day? Look at how much color. It's about the sun. It's about positiveness. It's about the opportunity of the future. If we are talking about creative development and future of espresso market, well, next year, Milan, there will be a lifetime opportunity not only to celebrate, but also to address these paradigm shifts, which is a word which is so central to this presentation. But before to enter into the topic, let me thank all the organizers and the participants for this wonderful opportunity provided here in Seoul to talk about coffee in the emerging coffee market, which is already shifting the paradigms from the so-called traditional coffee as we know it. So why Milan 2015? Because in Milan 2015 there will be the Expo, the universal exhibition. Last time was Shanghai, 17 million visitors. And for the first time in history in Milan we will have food as a main theme, feeding the planet, energy for life. And considering the importance of coffee in food, the Expo authority they decided to dedicate to coffee one entire pavilion, the so-called coffee cluster. And Illy had the opportunity to be appointed as a curator of this pavilion by appointment of the ICO. This is, I wanted to thank also for the wonderful words Roberto Silva and for the strong collaboration that we are getting from the ICO in organizing this coffee cluster in Milan. So we are working in order to organize the greatest celebration of coffee in history, greatest by numbers, because it will be a large pavilion, 4,500 meters. It will host 9 or 10 producing countries. It will host, as we will see, all the presentation of the coffee supply chain. It will be about 20 million visitors. It will be 6 months long celebration. It will be ending with this great global coffee forum, a large, conference where all the coffee representatives, all the stakeholders will have the opportunity to talk about the future of coffee. It will be celebrated with the very first International Coffee Day. It will be the largest reunion of coffee-producing countries, 40 of them, with 100 consuming countries. But also, it will be the greatest in terms of contents, because yes, we will represent the past, present, and future of coffee in its 3 cultural dimensions. The product, from the plant to the cup, the culture, coffee being the official beverage of culture, and the exoticism, so the discovery for the consumer of the wonderful places, what I like to call the coffee heavens, the places where coffee comes from. This page is the central message of my presentation, because creativity is about culture, and creativity is, let's say, represented not only in the cultural aspect, the ritual, in the let's say, the aesthetical, experiential aspect of coffee consumption, but equally important, creativity applied into science and technology for the sake of the industry development. So what is coffee? In the past, it was an energy beverage, as we will see. It has been the official beverage of contemporary age. It was a commodity. Nowadays, we are already we are at the center of these new paradigms of coffee. It's a specialty product. A specialty product mostly inspired by the Italian heritage, as we will see. And already giving central, let's say, importance to the single origins. So what will be the next paradigm shift? I believe, also looking at other industries, that the future will be about uniqueness, from specialty to uniqueness, that the consumer will be more and more discerning and sophisticated, so it will be about connoisseurships, and that the culture of the producing and the consuming countries will gradually cross-fertilize and merge into cosmopolitanism. So let's look one by one this coffee culture. So in the past, coffee, the energy beverage, has been the official beverage of industrialization. It has been the official beverage of the most important cultural movements, as we will see. It has been the official beverage of wars. So wherever there was energy, demand for inspiration, for resistance, for endurance, for whatever, for performance, caffeine. And this is why the caffeine shot has always been contended between different caffeinated beverage, tea, coffee, and soft drinks. 90% of the worldwide population enjoys caffeine in some ways. And more or less one quarter, let's say 24% of the human population enjoys caffeine as coffee. That means that you have to, if you decide to prefer coffee over others, that means that you have a taste difference, which is the center of our job, to bring more pleasure into the beverage for the sake of getting the preference over other caffeinated beverages. The reason why Robusta has been so successful is precisely because it was an energy beverage. In Robusta there is twice as much caffeine than in the most sophisticated Arabicas, and it's cheaper, because not only it was about energy, but it was also about cheap price. And this also might also explain why decaf coffee has always represented no more than maybe 8 to 10% of the total consumption in the world. So as far as the past culture is the official beverage of contemporary age. Coffee started, the coffee consumption started in Europe, and 1 century later, Illuminism started, which then led to the French Revolution, and then we had the Industrial Revolution. Even the United States of the America unification has been fueled with coffee. And then the 2 wars, and recently globalization. Always coffee is a protagonist of these cultural movements. And the expression has always been literature, theater, art, sciences, the economy, politics. Wherever there is knowledge, there is a cup of coffee. And there has been a profound historical role of cafes at the beginning in building the contemporary society. Still in the past, as I said, the coffee, the exotism side, which is the, let's say, the bridging the culture of different part of the world, was mainly linked to trade. So it started with the Venetians and the Turks. The Turks brought coffee to the Mediterranean from the Arab countries and Africa, and then the Venetians brought it to the continental Europe. This has been a kind of a teamwork at the beginning of the 17th century, so a long time ago. And then another major, let's say historical period, the one of colonialism, was very much centered around coffee. But we can testimony the fact that it was just a commodity by the fact that the critical success factor in the past of this industry were price and advertising wars. Was always about volume, big advertising budget, the lowest possible price, compromising quality. And this is also the reason why two mainstream mass producer countries at the time became the leaders of this industry. Typical paradigm of commodities. Today, talking about specialty, we have, and this is the central part of the promotion strategy of the International Coffee Organization, we can say that coffee is good for life. Thanks to these three virtues of coffee: pleasure, health, and sustainability. And these three virtues helped to completely change the perception of coffee in the world and to become one of the most attractive beverage for even non-coffee drinkers populations, of course, like in Asia. Think about Korea has been one of the early Asian tigers, and coffee consumption did grow in parallel with the acceleration of disposable income. And the same thing did happen in Japan, in Singapore, in other countries, and it's happening now in China, of course, with a much, much bigger footprint. And this explains why the consumption are growing. So pleasure did increase dramatically in the last 10, 15 years, thanks to better quality in the beans. The specialty coffee is about better quality. The best refined Arabica, single origins from all over the world, from Indonesia, Eastern Africa, Central America, Brazil did reposition completely the coffee production from just quantity to become a leader in gourmet coffee. Colombia, and so on. Everybody knows about these pure origins. Cause-related coffee has given a dramatic contribution to this positive perception. I'm talking about, for instance, certified coffees, organic coffees, bird-free coffees, and so on. This wonderful preparation, inspired mostly by Italian espresso and espresso-based drinks, and plenty of other new preparations, which give together a lot of variety to the consumer. Until coffee was a commodity, there was only one mainstream way to enjoy coffee. Now you can choose. You can have an espresso, double espresso, cappuccino, latte, filter coffee, you know. And then you can choose different origins. So you can have fun in discovering a different consumption occasion at every cup. And last but not least, the preparation has also been dramatically improved thanks to technology. Think about how convenient it is now to prepare a wonderful coffee at home, an espresso, or a hot beverage with these preparation systems, which are becoming mainstream now. And last but not least, the places where to go and enjoy coffee, these cafes, these coffee shops, where to get not only good quality, good service, but an inspiration. So it's solid pleasure, solid, substantial. Health, second-grade virtues. In the last 25 years, more than 23,000 scientific medical research about the coffee physiology have been published. So until the late, let's say mid of the 90s, it was clear that caffeine was good for health. But caffeine only has some symptomatological effects on human health. That means that it only alleviates whatever it could be your symptom, and it makes your life positive, because caffeine inspires, makes you creative, good mood, socialization, and so on. But nothing really preventative for the long-term health. The second cluster of discoveries came at the late of the 90s and beginning of 2000, highlighting that coffee is the #1 contributor in terms of antioxidant at least to the Western society diet. So Europe and the United States, North America, drinking so much coffee, number one contributor in the weighted average of what you intake with your diet, coffee. And everybody knows how antioxidants are important in preventing so many diseases, like cancers, like cardiovasculars, and so on. And last but not least, the last, let's say, category of finding discoveries has been that, as a matter of fact, coffee prolongs our life. There are several epidemiological studies which confirm that coffee prolongs our life. And the reason why might be that coffee is, has been kind of understood to be the most effective preventative cure against the elder age diseases. Diabetes 2, and even more important, the degenerative disease starting with Alzheimer and Parkinson. And this might explain why you live longer, because if these elder age disease do not occur, or they occur when you get older, this might explain why you live longer. And the perception in the last 15 years shifted. It used to be more or less an educated guess of 60% of the coffee consumer all over the world believing that coffee for health was so-so. And now it's the opposite. You have 60% of the consumer that understand and believe that coffee is good for health, even in Asia. So this, you understand that you have more, you have more positiveness in the pleasure, more positiveness and less negativity in the health. There are extra reasons to drink coffee, also because it's a no-calorie wonderful product. And last but not least, sustainability, which has been already touched by Roberto Silva. Triple bottom line: economical, social, environmental. I don't want to say that coffee is perfectly sustainable, because it's not. But for sure, it has made a dramatic improvement in the last 10, 15 years, and for sure, is much better than many other crops. So let's see the economical sustainability, how they change. You see that the consumption, which is the graph on the top, did increase a lot. So if you have sustained the consumption, growth, this is good for sustainability. You have seen also from Roberto Silva graphs that the average price did increase, even though there are some volatility that you can clearly see in the second graph. There has been a major peak, but you see an underlying trend which is for growing prices. But which is probably the most important chart is the third one at the bottom that clearly indicates that there is a substantial increase in the productivity. You see this blue line is the number of hectares planted, which we have seen is around 10.5 to 11 million hectares in the world. And the number of bags produced, you see that in the last 10 years is constantly increasing by maintaining the number of. This is the very important trend, which probably will be, let's say, representing one of the most important solutions for the future. Social sustainability is very difficult to give numbers or KPIs. So we have to look about some macro indication about this social sustainability. 100 million people are engaged in the coffee industry from the farm to the cup, and 25 million only in the farms. 90% of the production is in developing countries. That means that if we do a good job in making coffee a better industry, they will have a benefit for sure. And you have this Human Development Index. You can see, even though it might not be, of course, the direct and only merit of coffee, but for sure, coffee, being such a large market with 170 billion, gave a major contribution to this improvement in Human Development Index in all countries. We shall also consider that poverty, extreme poverty, the relative poverty, has been reduced from 43% in 1990 to 21% in 2012. So that means that there is an underlying positive trend in the livelihoods in the coffee growing countries, which is, of course, extremely positive. And I believe that this social sustainability, these certification companies gave a positive contribution. Environmental sustainability, equally different to assess. So I made an educated guess with my team and created this chart, which is an innovative one. Let's assess, give a kind of a qualitative assessment of the sustainability, environmental one, in terms of carbon footprint, in terms of water footprint, in terms of waste management. And let's break down the value chain in the main, let's say, aspect, which are the agricultural one, the logistics, the roasting, packaging, and finally the consumption. As you can see, the environmental impact of coffee is not too bad. For sure, there is nothing extremely bad with the red, let's say, high impact. Most of the time you have a low or medium impact in whatever you concern. Of course, provided that you adopt the best practices. In agriculture, in the past, there has been a negative impact in terms of carbon footprint because of deforestation, because of bad water management and waste. But if you apply the best agronomical practices nowadays, the impact of coffee agriculture on the environment can be positive or for sure not too bad. Some believe that it's even carbon neutral at agricultural standpoint. There are no waste after consumption, it's excellent compost. So there are plenty of, most of the problem is the roasting with the carbon dioxide emission of roasting, the packaging and the logistics. You know, these are the main, let's say, aspect of the sustainability of coffee. So let's see the present, culture, Italian heritage. Why this specialty coffee industry is inspired by this Italian heritage? It might be because of Illy. No, I'm joking, because Illy is only 80 years old, and the Italian heritage is more than 40 centuries old. As a matter of fact, the first coffee arrived in Venice around 1615. You see, 1615. And the first cafe did open in Venice around 1680, so very long time ago, long time ago. And this cafe culture did evolve over the, with the society. The society was less and less time, so cafe became bars where you can have a nice espresso in a nice china cup served by a super talented barista in 130,000 places in Italy, with an average of one bar every 400 citizens. You find no places, no countries in the world with such an incredible penetration of coffee. And of course, everybody, all the Italians go there, and it's definitely part now of the Italian lifestyle. So the Italian lifestyle is not only about Rome and the Colosseum, the San Pellegrino or the Armani, but also, of course, coffee, and the coffee culture, and the espresso particularly. And this is what we try to do as Illy, to amplify, to enhance this Italian heritage and to really bring the best to the global consumers. But Italy is also famous for its preparation. Espresso was born in Italy. And equal importance, the mocha pot in 1933 and the Napoletana. And then you have these famous cities of coffee, starting with Venice, with Trieste, with Naples, with and Torino, and so on. So the present single origin exoticism, it's about the discovery of the places where coffee is grown, where it comes from. In the past, people were not even aware that coffee was produced in the south of the world. This single origins, this coffee, this specialty industry has been a way to discover these origins and tasting the difference of different places and experiencing this coffee shop, this coffee experience. So what about the future? Which is the most interesting part, of course. Creativity, okay, and future of coffee. Well, I made the exercise that has been made by the ICO to 2030. Well, if you extrapolate this 2.5% compound average growth rate with all this positiveness around coffee, you can guess that this will be the result. Well, we will need to produce 60 million bags more, which is nearly half of what is produced today, which represent nearly the total amount of coffee produced in the two leading countries, Brazil and Vietnam. That's a challenge. That's a great challenge. And we will need to address this challenge by also finding solutions for what is kind of cutting off the coffee production due to these quite dramatic effects of global warming. Global warming is affecting coffee production in two possible ways: water security, both because there are droughts or because there are excessive or uneven rainfalls. And you will see in this chart that the situation is going to worsen even more. The dry places of the world will become even drier, and the wet places will become even wetter. And most of these places is where coffee is produced. So there might be a shrinkage of the places where coffee can be produced. How to tackle with that, we don't know, but we will find out. Let's be optimistic. There is science, technology, we will do the job. And the other important aspect, which has been highlighted by Roberto Silva, is the temperature increase, which is even more risky because, you know, the coffee plant is delicate. There are only, let's say, certain conditions at which it can grow, and if you change them, you have a problem. So this is why we have to start thinking about what could be the coffee of future. So I believe that what did happen in the past is very logical, is that the value added of coffee did increase. Our ancestors used to roast coffee at home, and then they start buying packaged coffee and roast and ground, and then, you know, pressurized packaging, and then you got portionate systems which facilitate the preparation. Then you got ready-to-drink coffee. What's next? How much can we improve, innovate, increase the value added of coffee? Can I give you coffee in a pill? Maybe, maybe not. So I believe that the way to further increase the value added of coffee is by this preparation system, in which you have the combination, like you have in your beautiful Samsung smartphone, the combination of the hardware and the software, which are delivering you know, contents, delivering service, delivering facility, let's say, convenience to the consumer. This is something, I mean, think about, because two markets which were parallel, the durable one of the coffee equipment and the consumable one of the coffee, packaged coffee, are merging into a new industry, much more complex, in which the hardware is equally important. Other than that, how will we address the, let's say, food security? Well, agronomical practices. Give an example. The productivity in the world is around 13 bags per hectare, but there are regions in the world, like in Brazil, in the state of Bahia, you can reach up to 80 bags per hectare. So how much can we further improve the productivity in order to produce the coffee we need? Then terroir and varietals. Well, first of all, in order to further differentiate the coffee, as we will see, but varietals is probably the most important way to address this problem of climate change, in order to develop varieties which are resistant to the disease and to the adverse conditions of climate change. So you see there are these three areas, three clusters of innovation for the future to further increase the value added for the sake of security and consumer experience, which will involve a lot of science, a lot of innovation, a lot of technology, and a lot of creativity. Still about the future, what about the culture? And by the way, did you ever put milk in wine, in your wonderful glass of Shiraz or your Chardonnay, or sugar? Somebody did it? No, I think that we are going into a market where, very much like in wine, we will start to be so sophisticated to distinguish the discerning, let's say, quality and characteristic of the coffee that we are drinking, that it will be more authentic for sure. We will develop a language. We will develop a language to talk about the quality of coffee. We will develop menus like you have the wine list in the restaurants, in the best restaurants. We will develop more recipes. For sure, there will be more connoisseurs around. So from traditional coffee, the commodity, to specialty coffee, discovering that coffee can be great, to the real experience, connoisseurs. And last but not least, the exoticism in the exoticism, cosmopolitanism. Of course, a nice wine is usually presented by the winemaker. He is testimonying about his product himself. And I think that this will represent one of the greatest chances for the 25 million families of growers to finally give a face to the product that the consumer will be able to are enjoying. But also the other great chance, also with the lowering of the transportation costs and the much better, conditions in the south of the world, ecotourism. Many people traveling around to discovering the beautiful places where coffee comes from. So, thank you very much. And I meet you next year in Milan from May 1st to October 31 at the Coffee Cluster. Thank you very much.